Chapter 44-47. The current Meng Yujing is a bit furious. Although, he doesn't think Tan Xiaoding can escape the punishment of the Sky Blood Oath. However, Li Feng is not restricted. Even if Tan Xiaoding is dead, Li Feng, who has obtained the Godhead of the Strong, can still continue to have the Godhead of the Strong, without any restriction, because he and Tan Xiaoding made each other's oath of blood in the sky. Irrelevant. Li Feng. In a hurry, Meng Yujing looked at Li Feng and said with a gloomy expression, "If you are conscious, quickly hand over the strongest person. In this way, I might be able to give you a happy one." Almost at the same time, Meng Yujing said to Tan Xiaoding again through a voice transmission, "Tan Xiaoding, you will not escape the punishment of the Sky Blood Oath if you do this. You killed this Li Feng, and I will not blame you for you." Of course, if Tan Xiaoding killed Li Feng, he would still be punished by the Sky Blood Oath. He was beyond his control. In his opinion, as long as Li Feng died, even if the power of the strongest person was lost, it was worth it. His ancestor is now promoted to become the strongest, and it is definitely not a difficult task to get him a godhead of the Law of Fire, the strongest. Nowadays, even if Meng Yujing is unwilling to admit it, he still has to admit that the strongest godhood has entered Li Feng's acceptance, and it is difficult to return to his hands. Meng Yujing, do you think it was I who found the young master and asked him to help me pit the power of the strongest in your hands? Hearing Meng Yuzheng's voice transmission, Tan Xiaoding suddenly laughed, as if Meng Yuzheng's words were a big joke. "Master." Hearing Tan Xiaoteng's address to Duan Lingtian, Meng Yuzheng's face changed slightly, and an ominous premonition rose in his heart. Meng Yuzheng. At this time, Duan Lingtian also spoke, looking at Meng Yujing with teasing expression. "This is the most powerful god, but Tan Xiaoding asked me to help him get out of your hands. This thing is what I think. Yes, it has nothing to do with him. Or, the whole thing, am leading the way. He is completely passive. In this case, it is impossible for him to fall on the punishment for the blood oath you made earlier." Duan Lingtian's mouth suddenly changed Meng Yuzheng's complexion, showing an incredible look, then gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, "Li Feng, do you think you say this, I will believe it? What strength do you have? Can you dominate the matter of taking my godhead as the strongest?" Now, even though he said so, Meng Yujing already had an ominous premonition in his heart, and guessed that it was the mysterious forces behind Li Feng who had acted. Li Feng was rescued from Tan Xiaoteng's men, and then Li Feng threatened Tan Xiaoding came over to trouble him. Meng Yuzheng. Tan Xiaoding glanced at Meng Yuzheng indifferently. "Whether you believe it or not, this is all true. I do as you wish. After the young master leaves Wang's house in Lan Xiaoqing, I will hunt him down." Hearing Tan Xiaoding said this, Meng Yuzheng couldn't help yelling, "Tan Xiaoding, you are an idiot. Didn't you say that you will only attack him if you confirm that there is no strong protector around him?" Now, Meng Yuzheng guessed that it must be when Tan Xiaoding took action against Li Feng. Li Feng had a stronger shelter around him than Tan Xiaoding. This was the only way for Tan Xiaoding to come home, and under Li Feng's intimidation, put him in the army. In his opinion, this is Tan Xiaoteng's idiot, stupid, and he will rashly attack Li Feng when he is not sure that Li Feng has strong protection by his side. "Hey!" Faced with Meng Yuzheng's yelling curse, Tan Xiaoding snorted, "Meng Yuzheng, you were not born when Tan Xiaoding was in the Sand Realm. I, Tan Xiaoding, can live with this body of cultivation. Do you think it will be as stupid as you think? Naturally, I will attack the young master after confirming that there is no strong protector by his side." Speaking of this, Tan Xiaoding glanced at Duan Lingtian with respect and said with complicated eyes, "It's just that, I never expected that the strength of the young master has reached the point where it is close to the invincible high-ranking god. Less than long live, close to the existence of an invincible high-ranking god. Easily defeat me. If it were not for the mercy of the young master, I would not be alive now." Every word of Tan Xiaoding now fell into Meng Yuzheng's ears, making Meng Yuzheng's heart tremble. Less than long live, close to the invincible high-ranking deity? Tan Xiaoding. Meng Yuzheng stared at Tan Xiaoding with a face full of disbelief. "Do you think, if you say these things, I will believe it? A person who is less than long live can have the strength close to the invincible high-ranking god? Not to mention looking at the Tiansha realm, it is looking at the entire outside world, or even the 10,000 realms. I have never heard of anyone who can have the strength close to the invincible high ranking at the age of less than long live. The current Meng Yuzheng, in fact, has some faith deep in his heart. Because Tan Xiaoding and Li Feng have obviously won, at this time, there is no need to deceive him. Even, this answer is consistent with the previous Lan Xiaoqing Wang family's attitude. If Li Feng is so enchanting, Lan Xiaoqing Wang's family chooses Li Feng instead of him, it can be explained. It's just that he doesn't want to admit that he is so much worse than a peer of the same age. At this moment, if Duan Lingtian knew Meng Yuzheng's thoughts, he would definitely be tempted to tell him. In fact, Duan Lingtian is now not only long-lived, but even less than 2,000 years old. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. Tan Xiaoding glanced at Meng Yuzheng lightly. Meng Yuzheng, offending the young master is the most stupid thing you have done in your life. For a woman, you ruined yourself. Tan Xiaoding, Li Feng, you better let me go. Otherwise, I will now sacrifice the jade slip of the deity that my ancestor gave me and summon the ancestor out. Meng Yuzheng stared with a pair of eyes, his face threatening Duan Lingtian and Tan Xiaoding with a hideous face. When he heard this, Duan Lingtian just smiled faintly, and Tan Xiaoding laughed out loud again. Meng Yuzheng, not to mention that I have been with your Meng family a while ago. Just because I was not with him, you think I would never think that he was promoted. It didn't take long for the strongest to spend blood to make his own projection jade slip. The projected jade slip of the deity also needs to be made with the blood of the strongest. Although the price paid is far less than the essence of aura, it is not small. In the old days, when Duan Lingtian was still against the realm of God, in that face battlefield, he had seen several people, and even the projection of the strongest deity's jade slip, summoned the projection of the strongest deity. There are more people, so he escaped in his hands. So, he also had many worries about the projection of the jade slip of the Xian's deity. This time when he came to Kanglan City, he had also communicated with Tan Xiaoding about it. It is also because Tan Xiaoding said that the newly promoted strongest man in the Meng family of Kanglan City could not make the original projection jade slips now, and Meng Yuzheng could not have that thing in his hands, so he should relax. And hearing Tan Xiaoting's words, Meng Yuzheng's last life-saving straw was also cut off, and his mentality completely collapsed. Despair spread in his heart, making him almost collapsed. Do not. No. I don't want to die. Chapter 44-48. Tan Xiaoting's words completely collapsed Meng Yuzheng's mentality. The Xian, although he can consume his own essence and blood to make the projection jade slips of the deity, but the cost to himself is not small. A Xian who has just been promoted is still busy consolidating his cultivation skills, and he also needs to rely on his own essence. Blood, there is no time at all, and it is impossible to spend blood to do that thing. The projected jade slips of the deity of the strongest, only those who are difficult to make progress and are bored at ordinary times will make it, and because they need to consume their own essence and blood, they will not make too much, they will only leave it to themselves. Some descendants or disciples of disciples. With Meng Yuzheng's position in the eyes of Meng Tianfeng, the newly promoted strongest of the Meng family in Kanglan City, if Meng Tianfeng produced his own projected jade slip, he would definitely be the first to give it to Meng Yuzheng. But the problem is, because Meng Tianfeng had just been promoted, it was impossible to make the original projection jade slip. Therefore, Tan Xiaoting's words also made Meng Yuzheng's face white as paper, and he was terrified to the extreme. Puff. At the critical moment, Meng Yuzheng knelt down directly in front of Duan Lingtian, constantly kowtow, giving up all his dignity. Master Li Feng, you do not remember the villain. Please spare my life. As long as Master Li Feng is willing to spare my life, I can give all the wealth in the ring to Master Li Feng. Meng Yuzheng is really scared now, panicked to the extreme. Although, he also knew that as a descendant of the strongest, if he died, his ancestor of the strongest could be traced back to Li Feng's body and blood. But now it seems that there must be an extremely powerful force behind Li Feng, perhaps the force that his strong ancestor feared. After all, according to Tan Xiaoding, this Li Feng is an existence that is less than long-lived, close to the invincible high-ranking god. Spare you? Duan Lingtian glanced lightly at Meng Yuzheng. If you want me not to kill you, it's not impossible. Then it depends on whether there is something that interests me in you. Now, release the precept and confess to the Lord. Duan Lingtian had no reason to refuse the things delivered to the door, and he did not intend to kill Meng Yuzheng for the time being, only intending to imprison him. He also heard what Jingshi Shenshui said. Rashly killing Meng Yuzheng might anger the strongest of the Meng family, and the opponent could trace back to him through blood. According to the words of Jingshi Shenshui, it is best not to kill this Meng Yuzheng personally. At least, it is not suitable to kill this Meng Yuzheng before he can't compete against the strongest of the Meng family. Master Li Feng. Hearing Duan Lingshan's words, Meng Yuzheng took a deep breath and said hesitantly, "Although, I don't believe you, Master Li Feng, but can you make the heavenly blood oath? I promise that after taking my precepts, no kill me. Then you'd better take your nuns and die." Duan Lingtian raised his brows, and a sarcastic smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. I really want something from you? After the words fell, Duan Lingtian flickered before disappearing in front of Meng Yuzheng's eyes. And Meng Yuzheng's expression changed drastically in an instant. He never expected that Li Feng was so decisive, and he didn't intend to ask for his things again if he didn't agree with him. In a hurry, Meng Yuzheng gritted his teeth and directly dismissed the confession of the ring, and at the same time threw it out from a distance. Master Li Feng, I have lifted the confession of the ring and hope to spare my life. However, Meng Yuzheng did not wait for Duan Lingshan's response. I saw that Tan Xiaoding raised his hand and directly took Meng Yuzheng's Neji into his hands, and then left, oppressing Meng Yuzheng. And Meng Yuzheng, seeing Tan Xiaotang's murderous aura, suddenly looked ugly and threatened. Tan Xiaoding, if Master Li Feng committed suicide with me, my ancestor of the Meng family might be a little bit jealous if he takes care of the forces behind him. But if you dare to kill me, the ancestor will never forgive you. For Li Feng, Meng Yuzheng felt fear from the bottom of his heart. But Tan Xiaoding, he knows everything, and he doesn't fear the opponent at all, even if the opponent is much stronger than him. Who said I was going to kill you? However, in the face of Meng Yuzheng's threat, Tan Xiaoding smiled faintly. I just follow the spirit of the young master, and I have completely destroyed you. When the voice fell, Tan Xiaoding shot out like lightning. As for Meng Yuzheng, he was captured by Tan Xiaoding at the same time as he was reacting. The terrifying divine power contained cyan flames, which engulfed him like bone gangrene. At the same time, he found that he could no longer control his body, as if he was completely oppressed by that force. Do not. When he noticed that Tan Xiaotang's power was constantly expelling and crushing his power, Meng Yuzheng's eyes were splitting, and he let out a desperate cry. Tan Xiaoding, you it. Damn you. The celestial pulse in the body was broken and the divine power was lost, so that when Meng Yuzheng was desperate, he was so angry that he passed out and fainted to the ground. Even the vitality has become a lot weaker. Don't kill him yet. At the same time, Duan Lingtian appeared in front of Tan Xiaoding again and glanced at Meng Yuzheng, who had passed out on the ground. If he died, then Meng Tianfeng of the Meng family would be a big trouble. Master, he won't die. Tan Xiaoding respectfully said, this Meng Yuzheng, although I got along with him not long ago, I can still see that he is a person who is extremely greedy for life and fear of death, not to mention that he is only a cultivator and abolished. It is his cultivation. He will not want to die if his limbs are broken at the same time he is abolished. Although getting along with Meng Yuzheng not long ago, it is obvious that Tan Xiaotang's understanding of Meng Yuzheng is not so deep. Duan Lingtian nodded. This is the best. Find a chance later and let him fend for himself. After the voice fell, Duan Lingtian said again, next, we will continue on our way to Liangu realm. Yes, master. Tan Xiaoding responded respectfully. On the way to Kanglin City, he learned from his young master that the destination of his young master's trip was the Lonely Realm. To be precise, even the Lonely Realm was just a place for his own young master. The Land of the Way. The young master of my own family intends to go to the 3 holy realms in the central area of the outside world. He had been to the 3 holy realms in the past, and he had been there for a while, and even his strength today was entirely thanks to some of the opportunities he had obtained in the three holy realms in the past. If he had stayed in the heavenly sand realm, now, he could not have such strength. Of course, while the three holy realms have all kinds of opportunities that cannot be met, they are also crises. In the past, he almost died out several times. After having Tan Shouting by his side, Duan Lingtian was also relieved a lot, and he basically stayed in the divine artifact spaceship to practice on the way to Liangu realm. Tan Shouting also took the initiative to solve some of the troubles and lockups encountered on the road. He also told Tan Shouting, unless it is something that cannot be solved, don't disturb him in his cultivation. In Duan Lingtian, he left Tiansha realm and entered Liangu realm for a period of time. Within Tiansha, the people of the Ming family in Kanglan City finally discovered that the young master Meng Yuzheng of their Ming family had disappeared. If it were before, although Meng Yuzheng had a good status in the Ming family, he was also one of the many direct descendants of the Ming family, and he was more noble in the line of his. However, when Meng Yuzheng's ancestor was promoted to the strongest, he, the descendant most loved by Meng Tianfeng, the newly promoted ancestor of the Ming family, became the highest-ranking person in the younger generation of the Ming family. The person most valued by the ancestors of the strongest is not high in the Ming family? I have searched all around, but I still can't find the whereabouts of Yuzheng's child. When the ancestor leaves the customs, if we can't see Yuzheng, how should we explain to him? In the main hall of the Ming family, a high-level group of the Ming family gathered together, and an old man with a white beard said gloomily, with a worried tone. The last person who met Meng Yuzheng saw that he was leaving to the south of Kanglan City. As for why he left, no one knows. But I guess what attracted him to leave. There is no one around to follow, and it is impossible to go too far if you want to come to Yuzha. But there is no news until now. I am afraid it is too bad. Don't scare yourself. Isn't Yuzheng's soul orb still intact? This also shows that he is still alive now. Yeah, as long as you live well. Moreover, the old ancestor is the strongest, and Yuzheng is his direct descendant. If anyone dared to kill Yuzheng, the old ancestors can also trace back through their bloodlines. Who did it to him? Perhaps the other party did not kill Yuzheng because of this concern. Since I didn't kill Yuzheng, I wanted to seek something. Maybe it won't be long before news will come. I also think that the other party should be seeking something, or else, how could he do such a risky thing? You know, he offended not only the Ming family, but also our ancestor of the Ming family. Meng Tianfeng, since returning from Lan Xiaoqing in the past, has been in retreat directly. I don't know anything about the outside world. It wasn't until after he left the customs that he wanted to summon the direct descendant, Meng Yuzha, that he valued most, and then he knew that the other party had been missing for a long time. Yu Zhang is missing? Meng Tianfeng's complexion was gloomy and ugly, and then raised his hand. A fire flashed in his hand, and a scar appeared on his palm, and a drop of blood sputtered out of his hand. Then, his eyes were like electricity, and two firelights flicked out from between his eyes, and then they melted into a drop of blood floating in the void. The blood boiled, and Meng Tianfeng closed his eyes, frowning and loosening his brows. After more than a dozen breaths, he opened his eyes again, but his face was a little ugly. Although people are not dead, they are still full of robbery. Who is it that dares to treat me, the descendants of Meng Tianfeng, like this? Does he really think that Meng Tianfeng is a fool? Chapter 44-49. If you are a powerful person in the realm, it is said that you can use the power of blood to predict some situations that the immediate descendants will encounter if the immediate descendants are not dead. This is what Meng Tianfeng heard from others. Also because of this, he knew that although he was promoted to the strongest, it is almost impossible to know what happened to him without his direct descendants dead. That person probably doesn't want me to find him. Meng Tianfeng's face was gloomy. However, he really thought, if he did this, I couldn't find him? Soon, Meng Tianfeng went to see the contemporary patriarch of the Ming family and directly ordered the Ming family to join the family to inquire about people who have grievances with Meng Yuzheng. In the beginning, Meng Tianfeng was very confident and felt that he would be able to find the person who did it soon. It's just that, after a while, The feedback from the patriarch of the Ming family made him almost vomiting blood. Only then did he know that the direct descendant Meng Yuzheng, his favorite and optimistic, had provoked so many people outside, and he was a complete dude. Old ancestors, if you only rely on such investigations, there are really too many suspects. The contemporary patriarch of the Ming family, looking at Ming Tianfeng, said with a wry smile. This matter was the first time this ancestor asked him to do it after he became the strongest man. Naturally, he wanted to do it beautifully and properly. However, after a period of inquiries and investigations, he almost vomited blood. He did not expect that Meng Yuzheng, who looked like a predecessor, would offend so many people secretly. Moreover, most of the people he offends are because of the Meng family. They dare not speak. Even, many people want to kill him quickly. Or, Meng Yuzheng's offended people, those who want to kill him, definitely more than 90%. This also made him completely helpless, not knowing where to start. I really want to talk about the suspicion of kidnapping Meng Yuzheng. Everyone who has committed crimes by Meng Yuzheng is suspected. Duan Lingtian didn't know that the disappearance of Meng Yuzheng caused the entire Meng family to jump up. Even, the entire Kanglan city was a sensation. Currently, Duan Lingtian, together with Tan Xiaodong, has arrived at the last city in Liangu territory, and further forward, it is the Pingxiong realm, one of the 6 realms in the outer realm that is closest to the 3 holy realms. Liangu territory, in addition to the city where they are now based, Duan Lingtian and Tan Xiaodong also stayed in several cities, mainly to inquire about some things, and to buy some things that Duan Lingtian could use in his practice. Nowadays, the city Duan Lingtian and Tan Xiaodong have arrived is named Guilan City. Outside Guilan City, Duan Lingtian and Tan Xiaodong walked slowly into the city gate one after another. This Guilan City is a city with a forbidden air formation. Okay, but they are all the city guards of Guilan City. Guilan City is different from a city generally ruled by a certain family or several families. In this Guilan City, there is no family. There is only one force named Yintian Army. Master, the predecessor of the Yintian Army, is said to be a wandering force. Finally, the leader of the Yintian Army was promoted to the strongest, and this led the Yintian Army into Guilan City, and Kampa was king. Duan Lingshan's ears heard Tan Xiatang's voice. Of course, at first, this city was not called Guilan City. The reason why he was named Guilan City is said to be the leader of the Yintian Army to commemorate his dead wife. Guilan is the name of his dead wife. Speaking of which, the leader of the Yintian Army is also a legend. Although he is not the invincible high-ranking god, he is also close to the top existence of the invincible high-ranking god. Power expelled the 3 first-class families that originally controlled this city, repelled the 3 strongest with one enemy 3. Since then, he fought to be a god, and was recognized by the people in Liangu as one of the strongest people in Liangu, and he, since then, has been based in Guilan City and built Guilan City into a city that completely belongs to their Yintian Army. In this Guilan City, no family exists, and all the industries in it belong to Yintian Army. The army. As for those in charge of the industry, it is said that they are all relatives and friends of the high-level Yintian Army. So, in this Guilan City, don't look at the inconspicuous shop owners. Among them, there may be close relatives of the Yintian Army high level. In the current Yintian Army, more than one leader is the Xian. It is said that another deputy leader was also promoted to become the Xian 1,000 years ago. However, this matter was only passed on by outsiders, Yintian Army. I didn't say much inside, and I don't know if it is true or not. Perhaps, only by waiting for the deputy leader to take action can we confirm that he is the real Xian. Following Tan Xiatang's words, Duan Lingtian also had a certain understanding of Yintian Army, and at the same time was full of curiosity about the city controlled by Yintian Army. Entering Guilan City, what appears in front of Duan Lingtian is a clean and tidy avenue, which is different from the bustling and noisy city of ordinary cities. Although this city is also noisy, more people talk with each other. General fear. Seeing this scene, Tan Xiaodong said, "It is said that the deceased wife of the leader of the Yintian Army was a quiet woman before his death. Therefore, Guilan City also has rules, not to make loud noises. Those who make loud noises will be warned first. If you don't listen to the warning and continue to make noise, you will be expelled from Guelon City. Hearing this, Duan Lingtian suddenly. If so, everything in front of him would be easy to explain. In fact, when he settled in this city, Duan Ling Tiankun's mind was to see if there was anything he needed here, or rather, it was something that was helpful to him, and even to his relatives and friends in their cultivation. Although he is in a place outside the world and is on the road to saving his wife, he has not forgotten his group of relatives and friends. If he can get something that is helpful to them, it can also save them from making detours. However, after entering Guelon City, although he had been mentally prepared, it still surprised him. In the beginning, I just heard Tan Shouting say that this city is different from ordinary cities. Now it seems that it is so. Suddenly, a figure greeted Duan Lingshan's eyes, making Duan Lingtian unable to help his color change. I saw that it was a young man with a height of about 1.8 meters. His face was handsome and determined, with a pair of sword eyebrows and heroic spirit. Wearing a blue robe, his long hair dancing in the wind was also blue. The seemingly inconspicuous young man walked through the street in front of him like others, but Duan Lingtian couldn't help but look sideways and even changed his color, only because he has seen this person. You can also say, know who this person is. You know me? At the moment when Duan Lingshan's color changed, a ghost-like figure appeared in front of Duan Lingtian, asking slightly surprised. At this moment, Duan Lingtian only felt that a blast of cold air enveloped him. The cold power seemed to be able to easily pass through his body, oppressing his divine power. And Tan Shouting behind Duan Lingtian was also frightened by the sudden power in front of him. At the same time, he trembled. His pupils contracted, his throat swelled, and a bit of dryness forcibly swallowed a mouthful of saliva, shocked in his heart. 2. The strongest. Chapter 4450. Tan Shouting is not weak at first, and he has lived for a long time. In most of his life, he has seen many strongest people. Naturally, from the oppression of the people in front of him, he can see that the other party is the strongest. He was not surprised that the Xian appeared in Guelon City, because many Xians like to blend into the crowd. If he did not show his power, few would be able to tell that he was the Xian. Just now, he had noticed the person in front of him, but he had just glanced at it. He didn't expect that the other person would be a strong one. This strongest person is very strong, far beyond what Ming Tianfeng, the newly promoted strongest person in Kanglan City, can compare. This is also Tan Xiaoteng's first thought after realizing that the person in front of him is the strongest, and it shocked him inexplicably. When I came to Guelon City, I not only met the Xian as soon as I entered the city gate, but also was a Xian who was stronger than the average Xian. At the same time, Duan Lingtian also looked at the white-clothed youth in front of him with dread. To be precise, it is the King of Cold. That's right. At this moment, the white-clothed young man standing in front of Duan Lingtian was not someone else, but the strongest person Duan Lingtian had seen in Wuyang City in the past. The demon Venerable Chiming Mountain invited the strongest person to destroy Wuyang City. Duan Lingtian is still unforgettable the scene of that day. Qiming Yaozun teamed up with this person to easily crush Wuyang City's 5 strongest men. At that time, Duan Lingtian witnessed the fall of one of Wuyang City's 5 strongest men with his own eyes. The strongest fell, a vision appeared in the sky, and the rain of blood was pouring, shocking. Duan Lingtian vividly remembered that scene so far. Little guy, I have some impressions of you. At the same time, King Han, staring at Duan Lingtian, smiled faintly. I seem to have seen you in Wuyang City. If I remember correctly, you should be in Wuyang City, under the strongest, and escaped Wuyang City smoothly. The only human being. In the Battle of Wuyang City, although King Han and Qiming Demon Sovereign were teaming up to deal with the 5 strongest people in Wuyang City, he was also concerned about Duan Lingtian, who showed greatness below. Even at that time, the demon Venerable Qiming also found Duan Lingtian and even wanted to kill Duan Lingtian. In the end, it was Han Wang Shizai, who greeted Chiming Demon Venerable, and Chiming Demon Venerable did not attack Duan Lingtian. Of course, these Duan Lingtian didn't know. Therefore, For the Cold King, now recognizing himself and remembering that he once appeared in Wuyang City, he was surprised and said to the Cold King quickly and respectfully, "But I didn't expect that in the past, Wuyang City and his party would not have returned to the Cold King. Eyes. No talent." Hearing Duan Lingshan's words, King Han shook his head. "If you say that you are not talented, I am afraid that no one would dare to say that he is a talented person. Less than long live, with your strength. It is rare in the world. You are the most enchanting person with talent I have ever seen in my life." With the words of King Han, Duan Lingtian suddenly realized that King Han was probably staring at him when he was in Wuyang City. Perhaps the scene of himself fighting the big demon in Chiming Mountain and spared his life was also seen by King Han. After all, when the demons of Chiming Mountain slammed into Wuyang City, King Han didn't show up until after the 5 strongest in Wuyang City appeared. He did not show up under the greeting of the demonic venerable Chiming. Before he appeared, King Han must have been nearby, perhaps observing everything in Wuyang City boringly. Among them, it also includes his shots. Senior King Han praised. Faced with King Han's praise, Duan Lingtian hurriedly said humbly, "The younger generation can achieve this at this age, but it is only because of various karmic associations. If it were not for luck, it would be difficult for the younger generation to have today." Luck? When King Han heard the words, he smiled lightly. "How many people are in the outside world, and even in the 10,000 worlds, but you are so lucky. Young people, a little too humble." Duan Lingtian smiled awkwardly when he heard the words. At this moment, he also felt that King Han had removed his icy power, which made him a lot easier. And Tan Xiaoding, who was standing behind Duan Lingtian, was also relieved at this time. Relieved? It now appears that the strongest in front of us is not that the one who came is bad. No ill will to my master. This is a good thing. King Han. This title sounds familiar? Suddenly, Tan Xiaoding came back to his senses, but he felt that the word Han Wang was a bit familiar. After thinking for a while, his pupils shrank again, and his complexion changed. A few years ago, when he was still in the Tiansha realm, he heard people say that in Tiansha, there are the most powerful people in the world wandering around, and found a secluded place in the Tiansha realm. And this strong one is called the King of Cold. It is said that after King Cold arrived at the heavenly sand realm, someone from the Xian family offended him, and the Xian from the Xian family went out in person and invited another friend of the Xian to go to the King of Cold Qingxiu. He wanted to kill the uninvited guest of King Han. At that time, it also attracted many people to come to watch the excitement. That battle shocked the entire Tiansha realm. Under the siege of the 2 strongest men, without 30 moves, King Han killed one of them, and then, when the other strongest man lost the intent to fight, he killed him after 3 moves. 33 moves before and after, kill the 2 strongest. At that time, the Chiming Mountain Chiming Demon Venerable who was present bluntly said that even if it was him, he did not dare to say that he could defeat King Han. After the war, King Han became famous in Tiansha, and his secluded and pure cultivation place became a forbidden place for people in Tiansha, and no one dared to approach him and disturb him. It is said that the member of the Xian family was disturbed by King Han and was abolished by King Han, and then the following things happened. It turned out to be him. Strength, at least comparable to the existence of the top Xians in Tiansha. Tan Xiatang's heart was shaken. It is said that the last time this King of Cold appeared, it was in Wuyang City, the 5 strongest people in Wuyang City. The King of Cold together killed 2 people and escaped 3 of them. For a while, when Tan Xiaoding looked at King Han again, apart from fear in the depths of his eyes, only fear was left. "Young man, you have come to Guilin City, Liangu, but you plan to leave Liangu and go to Pingxiong?" King Han asked with a smile. The current King Han looks like an elegant scribe, as if chatting with his friends, without any part of it. "Senior Han Wang, I am planning to go to Pingxiong realm." Duan Lingtian nodded. "Haha." The Cold King laughed. "That's a coincidence. I also plan to go to Pingxiong realm to visit my old friend, or else, how about you and me along the way? Invited to travel by a strong person. If you are an average person, you may be flattered." But Duan Lingtian couldn't help but feel jealous. What exactly does King Han want to do? He didn't think that a strong person would invite him to go with him, just because he had only met him twice. The other party has a plan out of 10. Thinking of what happened to Chi Demon Ridge when he first came to the outside world in the past, Duan Lingshan's heart rose sharply. You don't need to be nervous. At the same time, King Han apparently saw Duan Lingshan's vigilance and said with a slight smile, I have one thing for you to walk with me, and I want you to help. Chapter 44:51. The next words of King Han made Duan Lingtian completely stunned. Something? Want to help yourself? Han King, but the best among the Xians. With this kind of existence, what can't be done by oneself? Need someone to help? Furthermore, let's find him. Is it possible that the King of Cold has discovered a place where the strongest cannot enter the ruins, and wants to find non-strongest ones to enter and share a piece of the pie? Duan Lingtian couldn't help but guess like this. However, as soon as this speculation appeared in his mind, he suppressed it again. Even if it is so, King Han can't find someone temporarily, he is looking for someone, and there are many people to find. I am not the invincible high-ranking deity. I am close to the existence of the invincible high-ranking deity. With the strength and status of the Cold King, it is not difficult to find it. It shouldn't be this, Duan Lingtian secretly said. As if seeing Duan Lingshan's doubts, King Han smiled and said, Don't worry, it's just a matter of effort for you. I have an old friend in the Pingxiong realm, and there is a junior underneath the old friend. He is extremely talented. Just after long live, I realized the law of death, one of the 4 highest laws, into the realm of small perfection, and because of this, he is talented. I am proud and suffered a lot of small losses for this, but I still go my own way, which makes my old friend a headache. According to my old friend's words, unless you can find someone who is more talented and stronger than him, and you can compete with him and beat him dignifiedly, maybe he can be honest. Of course, your strength may not be able to defeat him, but it is not difficult to think about it if you want to fight with him. If someone who is older than him gets a draw with him, he might not mind. But you are less than 10,000 years old, obviously much younger than him. If you can get a draw with him, for him, undoubtedly it was a huge blow, and it was obvious that he was inferior to you, or even far inferior to you. In this case, he will inevitably be much more honest. Speaking of this, King Han looked at Duan Lingtian with a deeper smile on his face. If you can achieve what my old friend wants, I won't be stingy, and my old friend, I won't be stingy. This matter is just a matter of effort for you. After hearing King Han's words, Duan Lingtian suddenly realized that he dared to feel that King Han wanted to call himself, and went to his old friend in the Pingxiong realm, and by the way, educate the younger of his old friend. Just after long live, I realized the law of death, one of the 4 supreme laws, into the realm of small perfection. Even Duan Lingtian was shocked. This kind of genius, even if you look at the entire outside world, and even the 10,000 realms, I am afraid that it is a top-notch genius. In the future, as long as the talent is not a flash in the pan, as long as it is not halfway through, as long as it is not bad luck, it can almost be concluded that he will become the strongest. Of course, Duan Lingtian disapproved of what King Han said that he was at most tied with the opponent. In the old days in Wuyang City, although he made a shot, he did not do his best. Furthermore, he is now better than when he was in Wuyang City. Now, even if he faced the 3 big monsters close to the invincible upper gods under the chiming mountain demon Venerable, even if he was not sure to defeat any of them, he was sure to fight with them. He can't help the other party, and the other party can't help him. How? Han Wang looked at Duan Lingtian as if he was thinking, and asked again. At this time, Duan Lingtian also came back to his senses, and at the same time agreed. Since the Cold King has this assignment, the younger generation will naturally not refuse. Moreover, I really want to pass through the Pingxiong realm. It is a great honor for me to be accompanied by Senior Han Wang all the way. Faced with a powerful person like King Han, even Duan Lingtian knew that he had to be careful. This kind of existence, if you want to kill him at all, it will be difficult for him to live. Okay, Han King laughed. Since you have agreed, then I will give you the thank you I want to give you about this matter in advance. Presumably, this thing will be of great help to you. If you can take this one step further in a short period of time and defeat the younger generation of my old friend, I think my old friend will be even happier. After the voice fell, King Han handed Duan Lingtian a floating shadow orb containing the mirror image of the floating shadow. This floating shadow orb was exactly the same as the one given by the former heavenly sword Situ Lei. The floating shadow mirror recorded by this floating shadow bead cannot be copied. Once you try to copy, not only is it impossible to copy successfully, even this floating shadow bead will self-destruct. This kind of prohibition is very special. Even the Xeon can't break it without destroying the floating shadow mirror inside. At the same time, King Han glanced at Tan Xiaoding, who was behind Duan Lingtian, and then a sound transmission was transmitted to Duan Lingshan's ears in a timely manner. In this floating shadow bead, there is recorded an invincible upper who is good at space laws. Zun fights against another invincible high-ranking god. Hearing King Han's words, Duan Lingshan's pupils suddenly contracted, and even his breathing became disordered in an instant. Invincible high-ranking god? Furthermore, is he still an invincible high-ranking deity who is good at the laws of space? For Duan Lingtian, this is undoubtedly the real treasure. At least for him at this stage, it is an absolute treasure. In the past, he probably didn't have much idea about this kind of thing, but since he got such a floating shadow bead in the hands of the heavenly sword Situ Lei, his spatial law that hasn't entered the territory for a long time, in a short time, there is a very obvious improvement. If he can get such another floating shadow orb, it will undoubtedly further accelerate his advancement in the law of space. Floating shadow mirroring against another invincible high-ranking god? Especially this point made Duan Lingtian realize that the floating shadow orb given by King Han is more precious than that given by the heavenly sword Situ Lei. After all, the latter is only given by an invincible high-ranking who is good at the laws of space. Fight against the existence of a non-invincible high-ranking god. Two invincible high-ranking gods fought against each other. This kind of floating shadow mirror image, looking beyond the horizon and even the 10,000 realms, is a first-class treasure, and even most of the strongest people will be moved by it and participate in the competition. Before Duan Lingtian had time to recover, the floating shadow orb had already floated in front of him. At the same time, before his eyes flashed, King Cold had disappeared out of thin air, leaving a cold air permeating the void, and then gradually disappeared. I will stay at the Yintian army's main mansion for the rest of the time. When you are done with your business, come to me directly, then tell the guard on duty in front of the Yintian army's main mansion and say yes. Just come to me. The voice of King Han seemed to float slowly into Duan Lingshan's ears from a very far away. Recovered, Duan Lingtian grabbed the floating shadow bead floating in front of him with one hand, and then collected it like a treasure. At this moment, his disordered breathing not only did not calm down, but also tended to become more disordered. For a while, he couldn't help taking a deep breath, trying to calm his mood. He had to be excited. The floating shadow beads given by King Han can be said to be something he wants to get in his dreams, something he can't refuse at all. But that senior cold king just gave me the things in advance. Don't you worry that I will run away with the treasure without doing anything for him? Together with the thoughts, Duan Lingtian suppressed it again. However, I am now in this Guilan city and want to flee privately with my treasure. I am afraid it is impossible. Not to mention his spiritual knowledge. It is enough to easily spread out and monitor my every move in Guilan city. It is not relying on himself. As long as he greets, the people from the heavenly army will probably stare at me. Hearing the last words of King Han just now, it is not difficult to hear that King Han is very familiar with the leader of the Yintian army, that is, the leader of the Yintian army. He went to Yintian army's main mansion. Maybe he went to talk to the old man. Chapter 4452. Certainly. According to Duan Lingshan's behavior, it is impossible to take the advantage of King Han and flee privately with his treasure. Knowing the good news has always been his code of conduct. Don't talk about King Han, but said that he was imprisoned by the strongest red demon in the Red Demon Ridge and made a promise with the dead Wang Yiyuan. Duan Lingtian never thought of breaking the promise. Regarding Wang Yiyuan, the victim was dead. Even if Duan Lingtian didn't make a promise, no one would know and no one would say anything. However, He went to Lan Xiaoqing personally and fulfilled his promise. With this floating shadow bead, my law of space will definitely go further. Thinking of this, Duan Lingshan's eyes were shining, and at the same time he couldn't wait to observe the floating shadow mirror recorded in the floating shadow beads. Let's find an inn to settle down first. Look at the floating shadow mirror first. According to the predecessor of the Cold King, in this floating shadow mirror, the opponent of the invincible upper who is good at the laws of space is another invincible upper god. I don't know. What rules the invincible high ranking is good at? Under curiosity, Duan Lingtian became more and more looking forward to the soul bead given by King Han. Soon, he found an inn, opened 2 rooms, and lived in one with Tan Xiaodong. Tan Xiaodong, although he was curious as to why his young master came to the inn when he first entered the city, after all, their cultivation level would not be exhausted, but in the end he didn't ask much. He knew that this young master must have his own ideas. Perhaps it has something to do with the floating shadow beads given by the strong one earlier. That floating shadow bead should have recorded a very precious floating shadow mirror. Just now, the young master was obviously a little gaff. Tan Xiaodong secretly said, and the floating shadow mirror that can make this young master such a gaff is at least the floating shadow mirror shot by the upper gods who comprehend the law of space to the realm of small perfection. It might even be a floating shadow mirror shot by an invincible upper who is good at the laws of space. Thinking of later, Tan Xiaoteng's heartbeat also couldn't help but jump sharply. If it is such a floating shadow mirror, it is a treasure that even the strongest can dream of. Among the most powerful, there are few who are good at the law and understand the realm of Dzogchen, and for them, if they can get the shadow of the invincible upper who can understand the law they are good at to the realm of Dzogchen, mirroring is also very helpful to them in understanding the law. Duan Lingtian didn't know Tan Xiaoteng's guess. Even if he knew it, he wouldn't care. At least, there is no need to worry that Tan Xiaodong will be disadvantageous to him until the master and servant contract of the Blood Oath is terminated that day. Look at another invincible high-ranking god. What kind of law is good at it? After returning to the room, Duan Lingtian first took out a few formation plates and arranged several compression formations to cover him, and then took out the floating shadow beads, and his spiritual consciousness synced into them. In the next instant, his whole person seemed to be pulled into another space. This is an abyss with no end in sight, and the surrounding area is dim. Here, Duan Lingtian is no stranger to hearing this. Here, it is the endless void. There are many powerful people in the buffer space between the 10,000 realms and even the places outside the realms. They all choose to meditate in this endless void and feel the purest road. The floating shadow mirror shot by the invincible high-ranking gods. It is said that only the strongest and the invincible high-ranking gods have the ability to record. This floating shadow mirror image was also processed by the Xian and the invincible high-ranking gods to slow them down. If there are really 2 invincible high-ranking gods fighting in front of me on the scene, I am afraid it will be difficult to see how they are fighting. Duan Lingtian had seen the strongest fight against each other with his own eyes. At that time, although his strength was not as good as now, he was not much weaker, but he couldn't see anything clearly. The invincible high-ranking god, although not as strong as the strongest, but they played against each other. It was extremely difficult for Duan Lingtian to see clearly. Call. Suddenly, in front of Duan Lingshan's eyes, a tall figure appeared. It was a middle-aged man wearing a blue robe, piece of endless void fit. Standing there gives people a simple and unpretentious feeling, but it seems to be integrated with this world, regardless of you and me. He is the invincible high-ranking who is good at the laws of space. At a glance, without even needing the opponent to take action, Duan Lingtian confirmed the identity of the person in front of him, that is, the invincible high-ranking deity who comprehended the law of space in the mouth of King Han to the realm of Dzogchen. Yu Tian, today you and I will preside over the next battle in Kongjezuan, both to decide the victory and defeat, but also to life and death. Suddenly, a voice spread, resounding through the endless void, and Duan Lingshan's heart was suddenly turbulent at this moment. Kongjezuan? Jezun? Is it a realm powerhouse? This mirror image of the floating shadow is recorded by the realm powerhouse. At this moment, Duan Lingtian also realized that his current field of vision may have been the field of vision of a powerful realmist, and it was from this angle that the other party recorded the scenes in front of him. He Jiuyo. Another figure appeared in front of Duan Lingshan's eyes. The person who appears now is an old man wearing a gray robe. The old man has white hair and white eyebrows, and he has a childlike face. Standing in the void, his figure is sometimes illusory and sometimes cohesive, giving people a feeling of erratic uncertainty. The old man appeared with a calm and natural voice. Today, let Kong Jiazun witness. Is your Dzogchen space law strong, or my Dzogchen time law strong? The sound came out, and Duan Lingshan's heart, which had not yet calmed down, shook violently again. Sky. What did he hear? This invincible high-ranking with a childlike appearance, he said, what he is good at is the law of time. The law of time. Duan Lingshan's heart was turbulent. He is not low even in the law of time, and he is close to the realm of small perfection, but recently compared to the law of space. It's just a slight drop. I'm afraid even the Cold King Senior did not expect that in addition to the law of space, I am also good at the law of time. The duel between the invincible upper who is good at the law of space and the invincible upper who is good at the law of time. Moreover, it's a life and death duel. For me at this stage, the value of such a floating shadow is difficult to measure. I am afraid that there is no second thing that can be compared with it. At this moment, Rao Duan Lingtian had been accustomed to seeing strong winds and waves along the way, and his heart was still full of uncontrollable excitement, which was difficult to calm down for a long time. Chapter 44:53. 2. Why bother? A sigh came into Duan Lingshan's ears, and Duan Lingtian knew that this was the Kong Jiazun of the two populations who had spoken. Loss. As far as I see it, just click and stop, Kong Jiazun said. Kong Jiazun, my heart is determined. You don't have to persuade. Kong Jiazun, today, if no one achieves the strongest between me and him, we are destined to live only one person. The two invincible high-ranking gods in the field expressed their opinions one after another, and between their words, it was obvious that they did not intend to give up this life and death duel, and at the same time, the eyes of the two were also rushing to the battle. These two people, and Duan Lingtian also faintly realized something at this time. Do they want to force themselves through life and death duel, break through, and become the strongest? Duan Lingtian now knows that it is difficult to achieve the invincible upper god, but it is even more difficult to achieve the strongest through the invincible upper god. The difficulty of the former is much more difficult than that of being the strongest, not to mention the latter. Therefore, in places outside the realm, and even in the history of the 10,000 realms, there are many invincible high-ranking gods, but those who can truly become the strongest look from the past to the present, but anyone who knows or has been recorded does not. More than 10%. What is this concept? Perhaps these two people are not far from the end. Duan Lingtian secretly said. To make two invincible high-ranking gods so crazy, Duan Lingtian didn't think that the two of them were just hot-headed. It must be that both of them had lived a very long time, and became more and more powerless for the next 1,000 years of tribulation. The 1,000-year calamity that can make the invincible high-ranking gods have powerlessness, at least in 100,000 years, right? That is to say, the two invincible high-ranking gods should both be over 100,000 years old. Existence more than 100,000 years old. Thinking of this, Duan Lingshan's mind also fell completely silent, and devoted himself to the life and death duel that was about to begin in front of him. He must carefully observe this battle. The powerhouses at this level, plus the powerhouses who have lived for more than 100,000 years, their combat experience is absolutely very rich and very detailed. This also helped him a lot. Although he walked all the way from the secular plane to here, he also experienced many battles during the period, and he also had a wealth of combat experience, but compared with these two, it is completely incomparable. Finally, everyone has their own ambitions. Let's get started. In this battle, I will you, and there will never be a third party against any of you. Kong Jizun's voice came again. with a long sigh. Obviously, the two invincible high-ranking gods in front of regrets will eventually lose one person today. The life and death duel of the invincible upper gods. At this moment, looking at the mirror image of the floating shadow that felt very real before him, Duan Lingtian only felt that his heart was trembling, and the blood on his body seemed to start to boil. The battle in front of him was definitely the peak battle he had ever seen in his life. In Weiyangqing, although he saw the match between the strongest, he couldn't see their shots at all. And the two invincible high-ranking gods in front of him, if they were placed in the real world and fought against each other, with Duan Lingtian's current strength, they would definitely not be able to see anything clearly. However, the mirror image of the floating shadow slowed down their speed, allowing Duan Lingtian, an observer, to see this battle clearly. War. As one of the invincible high-ranking gods uttered a soft drink, the two figures moved almost at the same time. The perfect Dzogchen space law, as well as the perfect Dzogchen time law, also began to show in front of Duan Lingtian, and they collided together. At the beginning of this battle, Duan Lingtian devoted himself to watching the battle. The first time, he watched this battle, and finally witnessed the fall of the strongest who was good at the laws of space. The law of space is not as good as the law of time? This was the first thought that appeared in Duan Lingtian's mind after watching this battle, but he soon suppressed it again. Not necessarily. The one who is good at the law of time, the reason why he can win is entirely because he made more detailed shots. Whether it is the law of space or the law of time, it is a qualitative change in their state. It's just that, never expected, the law of time can still be used in this way. It has to be said that the observation of a floating shadow mirror image has not clearly inspired Duan Lingtian, but it also gave him a great experience and saw the horror of the invincible high-ranking who is good at the law of time. Comparatively speaking, he hadn't even realized the time law of the small perfect state, and he couldn't get on the stage at all. Look again. Come again. Observing the floating shadow mirror over and over again. Gradually, Duan Lingtian didn't know how many times he had observed it, and he, also during this time of observations, made some discoveries, whether it was the law of space or the law of time. Many of the puzzles on the road to comprehension were gradually solved. It turns out that the mystery of the law of space is not limited to what I have learned before. The law of time is really weird. One thought makes a space change rapidly, as if endless years have passed. The teleportation of the law of space, when used well, can get rid of the control of the law of time. A floating shadow bead allowed Duan Lingtian to stay in the inn for 3 months. Of course, Duan Lingtian was also putting away the floating shadow beads, and after walking out of the room, he knew that he had been in the guest room of the inn for 3 full months. In the past 3 months, although he did not comprehend the law of space and time, he asked himself that there will be shortcuts for the next 2 laws. I didn't expect 3 months to pass so quickly. You followed me around Guilan City, and then went to the military master's mansion to find Senior King Han. Even after 3 months, Duan Lingtian had not forgotten his agreement with King Han. Yes, master. After 3 months, Tan Xiaoding looked at his young master again, obviously a little bit more shocked. Although the young master is still the young master. However, from the young master's eyes, he clearly discovered something more. That is self-confidence, it is determination. In the past 3 months, master, his strength has improved again? While Tan Xiaoding was shocked, his eyes were full of envy. Before, he felt that he was a genius. But now, in front of the person in front of him, in comparison, he feels that he is completely out of touch with the word genius. This is the real genius evildoer. Tan Xiaoding sighed in his heart. If he has the talent and savvy of the person in front of him, he may already be the invincible high-ranking deity now, and he may even have used the invincible high-ranking deity as a stepping stone to step into the realm of the strongest and become one of the strongest. Jezun realm powerful. Guilan City, as a city controlled by the Yintian army, all the industries in it belong to the Yintian army. Therefore, compared to other cities that I have traveled along the way, the various industries in Guilan City also appear to be more orderly, and all aspects are well organized. As before, when Duan Lingtian bought some expensive things in other cities, he would be watched and even tracked by those who wanted to. Those people were either scared back by him, or they caught up after he left the city to block the way for treasure. And the latter, none of them is alive so far. Most of them were solved by Tan Shouting, and there were also a few two of them. Although they were not as strong as Tan Shouting, they were not bad. Seeing that Tan Shouting could not win the opponent in a short time, Duan Lingtian personally killed the two. It deserves to be a city completely controlled by Yintian army. Duan Lingtian found that he had walked around in Guilan City and bought a lot of things, many of which were precious, but no one has followed him up to date and hid his precious ideas. This shows that the security in Guilan City is good. Tan Shouting also discovered this and couldn't help but sigh repeatedly before, I just heard that Guilan City is safe. Seeing it today, it really deserves its reputation. Let's go. Go to the commander's mansion. The shopping is over. Duan Lingtian is also going to the last stop of this trip to Guilan City, looking for the strongest Han King and leaving Guilan City with him, and even the solitary realm, to Pingxiong realm. Commander's mansion. Hearing what his young master said, Tan Xiating's gaze suddenly condensed, and his face also became serious. At the same time, his gaze became a little more nervous and jealous. The military lord's mansion in Guilan City is equivalent to the palace compound in a country where the highest power is and the highest decision-making place. The leader of Yintian army, that is an extremely powerful and powerful. It is said that the strongest people who fell into his hands are not counted. Chapter 44:54. The leader of the Yintian army was the former leader of the Yintian army when he was in the wild. After entering the city of Guilan, he felt that the title of chief was too bandit, so he changed it to the military leader. However, even if the Yintian army has changed its name, privately, more people still call the Yintian army leader the leader of the Yintian army. The leader of the Yintian army is probably the strongest person who is not weaker than King Han. Duan Lingtian secretly said. Duan Lingtian knew about the strength of the Cold King. As the so-called things gather by kind, people divided by groups. Duan Lingtian knew about the Battle of Wuyang City in the past. Obviously, King Han's strength may be slightly better than him. The leader of the Yintian army is recognized as one of the top Xians in Liangu, and the top Xian in Liangu is also recognized as stronger than the top Xian in the Sands. Therefore, Duan Lingtian guessed that the strength of the Yintian army leader is likely to be equal to that of King Han. It is precisely because of this that the two talents may discuss on an equal footing. Previously, when King Han mentioned the leader of the Yintian army, he didn't have the slightest sense of awe, and his tone was indifferent, just like mentioning an old friend of his own casually. After arriving at the Yintian army's main mansion and explaining his intentions to the guards guarding the gate, Duan Lingtian also further confirmed his guess. Master, our adults have already said hello. If you come, take you directly to rest, and he will report your arrival to the adult above. Lord Han, it will not take long to know your arrival. The guard was expressionless at first and looked a little cold, but when Duan Lingtian informed him that he was the person called by King Han, his attitude changed drastically and he became extremely humble. Moreover, deep in his eyes, there is also a sense of awe from the heart. Duan Lingtian believed that if it was just an ordinary Xian, the Xian who was not as strong as the Yintian army master, the guard of the Yintian army master's mansion would never be the case. Although the general Xian is far better than him as a guard, there is still a Yintian army leader above him. Master, please follow me. One of the guards personally led the way in front of them, while the other guards also watched Duan Lingtian and Tan Shouting as they entered the military main mansion with expressions of awe. Watching Duan Lingtian's back disappear before and after his eyes, several guards came back to their senses. While they continued to guard their faces outside the gate, they had already whispered through voice transmissions. You said, this, with Lord Han, what is the relationship? I don't know. But Lord Qian said that if you want him to be respected as a disciple of Lord Han, I think he should be Lord Han's descendant. If it is a descendant of Lord Han, it is really enviable. Lord Han, that is a strong and powerful person who is not weaker than our military master. I heard that Lord Han used to compete with our army master. Although it seemed that the battle was a tie, the army owner said that he was 30,000 years older than Lord Han. If Lord Han is as old as him, he may not be weaker. Master Han, before he became the strongest in the past, he was almost able to become the existence of the invincible high-ranking deity. It was recognized as the East Nine realm of the strongest, and the invincible high-ranking deity cannot be made. No one is invincible. I don't know why Lord Han didn't step into the realm of the invincible high-ranking in the end. It is said that he can easily step into it. Perhaps I am worried that after becoming an invincible high-ranking god, it will be difficult to become the strongest. Naturally, it is impossible for Duan Lingtian to know the whispers of these guards. The current Duan Lingtian, led by the guards leading the way in front, reached the deepest part of the row of guesthouse courtyards in the military master's mansion, in front of the largest guesthouse courtyard. This is the young master of Lord Han, the guard said to the two maids standing in front of the guest room courtyard. The two maids look very young, beautiful and beautiful. They are also rare beauty embryos when they are placed outside. Now they heard the words of the guards, their eyes brightened, and then humbled forward and respectfully saluted Duan Lingtian. Master, please go inside and rest. If you have any orders, just order us. Duan Lingtian nodded faintly, ignoring the hints of the two maids whose eyes were obviously hint. At this time, the guard's voice transmission also came into Duan Lingtian's ears in a timely manner. Master, these two maids are all yellow girls, and then they will completely take orders from you and will not go against your wishes. If so, the gazes of the two maids are only hints, then the guard's voice transmission is clearly stated. Duan Lingtian faintly responded to the guard, and then walked into the courtyard, led by the maid, into the owner's room inside. And Tan Xiaoding entered another room next to him. The spacious courtyard has a total of 6 rooms, and the furnishings inside are all elegant and chic, which obviously took a lot of effort, which is very different from other guest courtyards outside. Without being reminded, Duan Lingtian could also see that the courtyard of this guest room was specially used to entertain guests. This time, it's the blessing of Senior Han Wang. Duan Lingtian knew very well in his heart that if it weren't for King Han, even if his strength was close to the invincible high-ranking god, it would definitely be impossible to receive such treatment in this Yintian army's main mansion. You know, in the Yintian army's main mansion, not to mention the strongest, even the strongest, there are no less than 10 people who are not under him. Earlier, he heard Tan Xiaoding say that there are 13 people in the Yintian army's main mansion, and they are all close to the invincible high-ranking gods. In other words, in Yintian army's main mansion, even if the strongest does not come out, there are 13 people who are not weaker than him. Next, I'm waiting for Senior Cold King to come to me, Duan Lingtian secretly said. Outside the door, the two maids waited for a day and a night, and did not hear the call of the person inside. They looked at each other, and both saw a little disappointment in each other's eyes. They are the maids who are specially trained to entertain the distinguished guests. If they are favored by the distinguished guests, they will not need to do similar things in the future. Even if they were not taken away by the distinguished guests, Yintian Army's main mansion will take care of them for the rest of their lives. They were very satisfied with the distinguished guests they received this time, because they looked clean and handsome, much better than those sloppy old men. But now, the other party obviously has no plans to happen to them. King Han did not let Duan Lingtian wait too long. The day after Duan Lingtian came, he came to the door. Speaking of which, I still don't know how to call you. Seeing Duan Lingtian again, King Han asked with a smile. Li Feng. In front of King Han, Duan Lingtian still didn't report his real name. It's okay for ordinary people to know his real name. If someone at the level of King Han knows it, it is likely to become a hidden danger for him. After all, he was carrying a lot of news about the Fountain of the Gods, and sooner or later it would reach out of the world. When the time comes, as the strongest King Han, once he pays attention to this matter and knows that the cultivator from the gods who brought a lot of gods to the outside world is named Duan Lingtian, he is likely to be directly contacted. Body. This is not a good thing for him. It's not that he sees the character of King Lo cold, but that he doesn't dare to gamble. Once the bet is lost, you may lose your life. Before he had enough strength, he could only protect himself like this. Outsiders call mecking of cold, and my real name is Shan Yuqing. King Han also politely reported his name, but he didn't know that what the person in front of him reported to him was just a pseudonym. Li Feng, my old friend, the leader of Yintian army, after knowing your existence, I want to see you before we leave, but I don't know. Would you like to see him? Just leave me. Han Wang smiled and asked Duan Lingshan's opinion. When Duan Lingtian heard the words, his heart suddenly stunned. The Yintian army master wants to see him? Chapter 44-55. Less than long live, there is a strength close to the invincible high-ranking god. Duan Lingtian knew very well that the reason why the leader of the Nyan heavenly army was interested in him, and even wanted to see himself, must have been heard by King Han mentioning this. Except for this, he didn't think he had any place worthy of the Nyan heavenly army leader who wanted to meet. Since the military owner can value me and wants to see me, it is naturally impossible for me not to see it. Although King Han respected himself very much in his words, he seemed to listen to his own opinions, and he wanted to see or not see the leader of the Nyan heavenly army, but Duan Lingtian still planned to see him. Before entering the city of Guilin, he heard Tan Shouting mention the Yintian army leader many times, and in words, he was very awed by the Yintian army leader. What's more, in this company's solitary territory, the leader of the Yintian army is also a top-ranking figure among the top Zeons. In Liangu territory, this Yintian army master is worthy of any strongest person. Duan Lingtian is also in awe of such an existence. If he can get acquainted with the other party, without touching any interests, there will only be benefits and no harm. Although, with his current strength, he is far from being equal to each other, but having a face-to-face meeting and having a familiar face is not a bad thing. You won't regret seeing him. Hearing Duan Lingshan's words, King Han smiled slightly and said, speaking of which, you are also considered destined, the master of the Yintian army. The law that is good at is also the law of space. He is willing to see you, and there is also the reason that what you are good at is also the law of space. In addition, the mirror image of the floating shadow I gave you was also given to me by him. It was obtained by him in the past. However, he has studied for many years, and the mirror image is no longer useful to him. When King Han said that, Duan Lingtian suddenly became more interested in the leader of the Nyan heavenly army. Because the Yintian army master only wanted to see Duan Lingtian, even if Tan Shouting, the famous Jingyan sword king in the Tiansha realm, wanted to see the Yintian army master, he could only wait outside. In this regard, he only has envy, not jealousy. Because in his eyes, although Tan Shouting is not bad, compared with his own young master, he is incomparable at all, no matter whether it is talent, strength, or background. Under the leadership of King Han, Duan Lingtian met the leader of Yintian army. Although the training ground of the Yintian army master's master is in the military master's mansion, it is a space plane of its own. The entrance is in the deepest part of the military master's mansion, and the surrounding formations are dense. If it weren't for the Cold King to lead the way, Duan Lingtian felt that you can't get to the entrance at all. Between darkness and light, Duan Lingtian found that he had come to a world of birds and flowers, and then under the leadership of King Han, he arrived in front of a grassy cottage. To be honest, before meeting the Yintian army master, Duan Lingtian had imagined the opponent's appearance more than once. Most likely he was a bold middle-aged man, resolute and hardy. Until I saw the Yintian army leader himself, the contrast brought to him was particularly great. I saw that the leader of the Yintian army was also a handsome young man, even dressed as a scholar, looking extremely weak, and his hands were not as strong as a chicken. Holding a folding fan, there seemed to be a faint smile on his face at any time, appearing polite. Brother Yuqingxian, this is the little brother you've been talking about before, right? The leader of Yintian army glanced at Duan Lingtian, then turned to Han Yuqing, king of cold, and asked with a smile. Good. King Han nodded, looked at Duan Lingtian at the same time, and introduced, Li Feng, this is the leader of Yintian army, who does not return. This was also the first time Duan Lingtian heard of the name of the Yintian army leader. Junior Li Feng, I have seen the military master. Duan Lingtian hurriedly bowed and saluted Hu Bugue, the leader of the Yintian army. Regardless of his seniority or strength, the other party was sufficiently qualified to bear his salute. Good. Hu Bugue nodded, then his eyes flashed and said, "Little friendly Feng, I heard from Brother Eukinxian that although you are young, you are already close to the invincible high-ranking god. Moreover, not just relying on the power of the law and the power of the blood or the law clone, but also the sword. I have a deputy army commander who is also close to the invincible high-ranking god. I asked her to compete with you, but I don't know what you think." After the voice fell, Duan Lingtian didn't wait for Duan Lingtian to speak. As if he was afraid that Duan Lingtian would decline, Hu Bugue continued, "Of course, if I find that your spatial law is lacking in this process, I will also discuss what you lacked afterwards. To mention you, the law of space, although I didn't realize the realm of Dzogchen, but am not far away, if I want to come, I still have the right to give you pointers." Hu Bugue said that afterwards. He unfolded the folding fan in his hand and patted it lightly. The military master is willing to give pointers, and the younger generations can't ask for it. It's a great honor. Duan Lingtian said so, as if he also agreed to Hu Bugue. But Hu Bugue heard this and nodded softly. Only a moment later, Duan Lingtian saw that a figure also appeared in this independent space, accompanied by a beautiful voice. "Flying Goose, pay homage to the foster father." Lai Ren is a woman wearing a light red and silver armor. She has a delicate face. Under this outfit, she looks heroic. This is the deputy leader in the mouth of the Yintian army? Seeing the woman in front of him, Duan Lingtian was a little surprised. In the Yintian army, there are still women serving as deputy military leaders? Moreover, listening to what the other party calls the leader of the Yintian army, she is still the righteous daughter of the leader of the Yintian army? Of course, surprise is surprised. Lingtian is not surprised at this paragraph. Although women are not as good as men by nature, it is not impossible that some strong people will appear among them. Not to mention the existence of the strongest. Even if it is the strongest, even the realm of the realm, it is said that there are women in the list. I have seen Senior Han Wang. After greeting Hu Bugue, the leader of Yintian army, the visitor looked at King Han and greeted him respectfully. "Haha." The cold king laughed. "Flying Goose, speaking of you and me, it's hard not to see you, but I didn't expect to meet again. You already have the strength close to the invincible high-ranking god. Before, I didn't hear my brother mention the deputy commander of the Yintian army. I thought he was looking for one of the other two. I didn't expect it to be you. The woman in front of you is known to King Han. The other is the righteous daughter of Yintian army leader Hu Bugue. She is now close to 20,000 years old. She has a good savvy talent. Although she is a daughter, she is better than thousands of men." However, King Cold didn't know that the opponent now had the strength close to the invincible high-ranking god. Li Feng. After greeting the people, King Han looked at Duan Lingtian again and said with a smile, "In the past, Fian understood the law of space to the realm of small perfection. Now the strength is even further. Or the law of space has been improved again, and the distance is great. The realm is not far away, or it's because of her attainments in controlling one, which has improved a lot. Take control. It is also one of the 4 realms of heaven and earth. In fact, Duan Lingtian also mastered this way, but his accomplishments were far inferior to his kendo. If you can discuss with her, the collision between the laws of space should also make you feel." In fact, before King Han mentioned this point, when King Han said that Hu Fian understood the law of space to the realm of small perfection, Duan Lingtian had already begun to look forward to discussing with each other. Fighting against a strong person who is good at space laws, and the opponent's knowledge in space laws is deeper than yourself. In this case, it is very common to have some insights in the battle. Of course, how much he can feel depends mainly on his own understanding. If we say that at the beginning, Duan Lingtian was keen to discuss with Hu Bugue's deputy chief only because he wanted to get the guidance of Hu Bugue, the leader of Yintian army. So, now, even if Hu Bugue didn't give him advice, he wanted to have a good discussion with Hu Fian, the deputy commander of the Yintian army, in front of him. Just because the law of space that the other party is good at, and even the way of control, are the methods he is good at, and he has a great opportunity to be inspired by it and improve himself. At this time, Hu Fian glanced at Duan Lingtian, His slightly cold face showed a touch of consternation and disbelief. Although it was only a flash, she still showed her contempt for Duan Lingtian. Even the confusion in his eyes persisted for a long time. She can clearly feel that the purple-clothed youth in front of her is very young, and it is even probable that it will not exceed long live. A young man who is less than 10,000 years old, to learn from her? Just now, the foster father said, "Is he stronger than mine?" Just him? For a while, when Hu Fian looked at the Yintian army leader Hu Bugue again, his face also looked a little unnatural. On the one hand, she doesn't doubt her adoptive father's words. But on the other hand, she didn't think that a young man who was less than 10,000 years old could have the strength close to the invincible high-ranking god. Flying Goose. As Hu Fian's adoptive father, Hu Bugue obviously also guessed what Hu Fian is thinking now. Don't despise little friendly Feng because he is young. Not without. For example, in the upper 3 realms of the 10,000 realms, there are such enchanting evildoers, and there is not only one person in any one realm. Outside the world, as far as I know, there are no fewer than 5 people who have achieved this. Of course, little friendly Feng, not among those I know. Between Hus words and words, Duan Lingtian also realized that in this outside world, and even the 10,000 realms, there is no shortage of young powerhouses who are close to the strength of the invincible upper gods. Listen to what this Yintian army commander said. This place outside the realm, and even the present age of the 10,000 realms, is close to the existence of the invincible high-ranking deity, and I am afraid that there are no less than 10 people. Duan Lingtian secretly said. Of course, he was not surprised. He can get to this point, others may not fail, because there are so many kinds of cultivation resources and cultivation environment that he has enjoyed in life, which he simply can't imagine. Chapter 4456. Certainly. Duan Lingtian knew very well in his heart that he can have today, and he can get to this point. Although there is no shortage of hard work and diligence, a large part of it is really a lot of opportunities along the way. If not, he would not be able to catch up with the outside world, and even the top talents of the 10,000 worlds, let alone surpass them. Nowadays, most people, including the 2 Zeons in front of them, only know that he is less than 10,000 years old, and most likely think that he is 8 or 9,000 years old. They didn't know that he was only about 2,000 years old now. If you know, you can imagine how shocked they would be. Even in places outside the realm, even in the 10,000 realms, the top genius, at the age of 2,000 years, let alone Duan Lingshan's achievements, even if it wants to become a general high-ranking god, it is almost impossible. After listening to the words of adoptive father Hu Bugue, Hu Fian, who was obviously a bit contemptuous of Duan Lingtian, suddenly became awe-inspiring, and his handsome face seemed a bit serious at this moment. Since the foster father has said so, then I will discuss with this little brother, please. Hu Fian took the lead to rise from the sky, and soon reached the high altitude, and at the same time invited Duan Lingtian. Please. Duan Lingtian didn't talk nonsense, and followed Yukong, preparing to discuss with the female powerhouse in front of him. According to Hu Bugue, the leader of the Yintian army, Hu Fian's current strength is also close to the invincible high-ranking god. Moreover, this is a strong man who is good at the laws of space and has mastered one of the 4 ways of heaven and earth at the same time. Even if it is Duan Lingtian, although it looks calm on the surface, deep in his heart, he still can't help but feel a little excited. That was the excitement of seeing Lai Xinxi. He knew that Hu Fian's strength was definitely not comparable to that of the elders of the Wang family who he had fought against in the Wang family of Langxieke, because Hu Fian was good at one of the 4 supreme laws of space. If it were him in the past, in front of Hu Fian, there is a high probability that even a tie would be difficult to achieve. And now, his strength is better than when he fought against the elders of the Wang family. It is not impossible to fight against Hu Fian. As for defeating Hu Fian, he is not sure. I also feel that it is almost impossible, unless Hu Fian, the leader of the Yintian army, exaggerated Hu Fian's strength in his words. Otherwise, Duan Lingtian feels that he has no possibility of defeating the other party, and the probability is that he will fight with him at most. Of course, The premise is that he didn't use the power of the small world life tree and the 5 elements of the gods in his body, but used their power to find an opportunity to burst out. Duan Lingtian asked himself that he was still confident of defeating the other party. However, it is not necessary. Not to mention that the other 4 spirits of the 5 elements gods, except for the Jingshi Shenshui, are still in the dormant recovery process, which is the god tree of life, and their current state is not very good. In the past, the consumption of the tree of life was still too great. Although it recovers faster than the other 4 spirits of the 5 elements gods, but the recovery to the present, compared with the heyday, it can only be regarded as a recovery of 30 to 40%. It is okay to help him, but the help that can be provided is limited. Maybe the tree of life and the of water at the same time can help him defeat Hu Fian. But whether it is the tree of life or the of water, it will inevitably fall asleep again. For a competition, it is not necessary and not worth it. Unless there is no other way around life and death, Duan Lingtian can use the power of both. I, Hu Fian, have practiced for more than 10,000 years and have never been defeated by someone younger than me. Even someone younger than me, even like me, what I meet can survive under my hands. There are none of the 10 tricks. When Duan Lingtian stood up from the sky and stood facing Hu Fian spoke again with a bold voice and a bit of arrogance. And this is also Hu Fian's pride. She, Hu Fian, was invincible of her peers in the past. Moreover, it is to leave their peers far behind, leaving them beyond the reach. When Duan Lingtian heard Hu Fian's words, he smiled faintly. Not to mention the 10,000 realms, it is the land outside the realm, so how big? You, Deputy Army Master, have you been to every corner of the land outside the realm, challenged every strong peer? Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Hu Fian frowned slightly. That's not. But I have been to the surrounding areas of loneliness. People of the same generation didn't recognize my opponents, or even heard of anyone at my age. With my strength. Like the surrounding area? Duan Lingtian's face still smiled. So, Deputy Army Master, you have not even been to the 3 holy realms? Outside the world, if there is a Deputy Army Master your age, or even younger, your strength will be limited. The existences close to the invincible high-ranking gods are probably all gathered in those 3 holy realms. The 3 holy realms. Hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Hu Fian subconsciously glanced at one of the 2 figures rising from the sky. It was her adoptive father, the princess of Yintian army, Hu Bugue. In the past, her adoptive father Hu Bugue had never taken her to the 3 holy realms. Even her adoptive father seemed not to like to mention the 3 holy realms, and even the people in the heavenly army mentioned the 3 holy realms deliberately to avoid her adoptive father. Because of this, subconsciously, she who respects her foster father very much has no good feelings about the 3 holy realms, and she didn't even bother to go there before. Of course, she had no good feelings and no good feelings. She had heard about the 3 Saint Realm powerhouses, and she knew that she should be able to find her age and strength not weaker than her existence. Her strength went even further. After approaching the invincible high-ranking god, she had more than one thought of going to the 3 holy realms. She has always wanted to talk to her adoptive father about this matter, but she still couldn't open her mouth. Because of this, Hu Fian couldn't help looking at his adoptive father for the first time when he heard the purple-clothed youth unscrupulously mentioning the 3 sacred realms in front of him. Because, in her opinion, this is a very sensitive topic in front of her adoptive father. Originally, she thought that her adoptive father, even if it was because the visitor was a guest, would not have an episode, but it would be slightly discolored. But to her surprise, this time, her adoptive father did not change anything. It was as if he hadn't heard the words of the youth in purple. At this time, he seemed to have noticed Hu Fian's gaze. Han Yuqing, the king of Han, looked at Hu Bugue, the leader of the Yintian army beside him, and asked through the voice transmission, "This girl, Fian, hasn't been to the 3 holy realms yet?" Hu Bugue responded, "In the old days, she went to the 3 holy realms, and she didn't have the strength to protect herself. But now, if she wants to go further and become an invincible high-ranking god, she is afraid that she will have to go to the 3 holy realms. Territory." And I also plan to let her go to the 3 holy realms during this period of time, Hu Bugue said. Then you. Han Yuqing seemed to be worried while speaking, but stopped speaking before finishing speaking. And Hu Bugue, obviously guessing what Han Yuqing wanted to say, his eyes froze and he said coldly, "Those people, if they are honest and don't aim at Fian, it would be fine. If you dare to target it, it's no wonder that I didn't keep the promise I made to never enter the 3 holy realms again." Chapter 44:57. In the field, Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian faced each other for more than a dozen breaths. The original calm was finally broken when Hu Fian spoke. After 3 breaths, "I'm going to shoot." Hu Fian spoke, his body shocked, and he was ready to go. The reason why he said he would take action after 3 breaths was obviously also a time for Duan Lingtian to prepare, and he was obviously unwilling to take advantage of Duan Lingtian. When Duan Lingtian heard this, he felt a little more fond of Hu Fian, and said with a slight smile, "Deputy Army Master, please." When the voice fell, the smile on his face also instantly converged and became a lot more serious. At the same time, in his body, the divine power was also turbulent, and at the same time the power of the law of space also appeared, and the divine power merged together, causing the surrounding space to tremble. At this moment, Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian stood volley in 2 directions. The space around their bodies was turbulent and ups and downs, like 2 spatial vortices, surrounding them. However, compared to Duan Lingtian's momentum, Hu Fian's momentum is obviously more exaggerated. After all, Hu Fian's laws of space have been enlightened by her to the realm of small perfection, and Duan Lingtian's law of space is only close to the realm of small perfection. Soon, Hu Fian moved. Her figure was ethereal, as if she had been shocked. A compass that looked somewhat similar to the formation in her hand appeared, and a terrifying aura spread from it. This breath swept through, and it is not difficult for people to sense that this is a strong artifact. Although Hu Fian didn't think that young people who were less than 10,000 years old could be better than herself, or even catch up with herself, but her foster father and King Han respected each other like that, so she didn't dare to have any contempt. Therefore, a shot is almost unreserved except for the power of not stimulating the blood. The way of control is like a shadow. Hu Fian at this moment is like a space messenger. Wherever he goes, the space is controlled by her. So strong. And Duan Lingtian, facing the menacing Hu Fian, his face became extremely solemn, and from the glance in front of him, it is not difficult to see that the existence of the same close to invincible high-ranking gods is also very different. For example, the Grand Elder of Lan Xiaoqing Wang's family who fought him, if he fights with Hu Fian, he may not be able to draw with Hu Fian. He will be defeated with a high probability. Of course, if Hu Fian wants to defeat the opponent, it is not that easy, and at best it will win by a narrow margin. But even if it is a narrow win, it is a win. A tie with a narrow win, it looks only a bit short, but in fact it is a world of difference. Being able to narrowly defeat the opponent also means having a chance to kill the opponent. This slight difference is the difference between life and death. Call out. Duan Lingtian didn't dare to neglect. The 7 orifice exquisite swords whizzed out. The law of space swept out, and the swordsmanship blended into it perfectly, and the sword came out, as if it could make everything around him desolate. This sword swept out, facing the powerful Hu Fian. He did not lose sight of it. Before the forces of Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian were about to collide, Hu Bugue, the commander of the Nyan Heavenly Army, had his eyes brightened, and he was a little surprised. "I heard what you said earlier, although I believe it, but I still have some doubts deep in my heart. Seeing this now, this little brother named Li Feng is really surprising. It's the first time I've seen this in my life. Under the realm of superior realm, I can comprehend Kendo to this level. With the spatial laws that have not yet stepped into the realm of small perfection, and with his swordsmanship, he can have the strength close to the invincible high-ranking god. His law of space, if you go further and step into the realm of small perfection, under the invincible upper Protoss, I am afraid it will be difficult to find his opponent." Hu Bugue exclaimed again and again. His eyes were also shining brightly. The purple-clothed youth in front of him surprised him too much. In the next instant, The confrontation between Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian also officially began. Call out. Boom. The sky is full of sword energy, sweeping from the other side, as if the power that can control the space collides, causing the void to continue to have spatial ripples. It is also this space that is supported by the strongest. If it were changed to the 10,000 realms, there would have been a lot of space cracks around this time. The two are close to the strength of the invincible upper gods. Once they collide, although the space cannot be collapsed, it is not difficult to tear out some space cracks. Even the space outside the realm is much more stable than the general place of the 10,000 realms. Under the realm of Jiezun, I have seen a person whose swordsmanship is not weaker than him. It's a pity that that person has become an invincible high-ranking god, and in the end he failed to become the strongest, and he was wiped out by time. Seeing the scene in front of him, Han Yuqing was also surprised. Although he had known Duan Lingshan's strength a long time ago, he couldn't help but feel moved when he saw Duan Lingtian really make a move. Based on his attainments in Kendo, as long as the law of space steps into the realm of small perfection and then promotes to the strong, his strength, I am afraid that he will not be below us. Hu Bugue said with emotion. When the words fell, he seemed to have thought of something suddenly and couldn't help but frown slightly. Brother Yuqing, your little brother, so enchanting. I am afraid that there will be an impact on the heart of the invincible high-ranking god. In my opinion, if you have a chance, you should dissuade him for a while. If you become an invincible high-ranking god, and you want to become the strongest again, it will be hard to reach the sky. In the land outside the realm, and even in the history of the 10,000 realms, it is less than long-lived to approach the existence of the invincible high-ranking deity, and it is not uncommon for them to become the invincible high-ranking deity, and among these people, only a very small number of people have achieved this. The strongest. When talking about this, while Hu Bugue shook his head, his eyes were a little bit more envious. Invincible high-ranking gods, if they can become the strongest, they are directly close to the realm of the realm. If you have not low attainments in the 4 realms of heaven and earth, it won't take long for you to have the combat power of a strong realm. In my opinion, you are worrying too much about it, brother. King Han smiled slightly and looked at the 2 evenly matched figures in the field, and said without hurries, You think that there is such an evil spirit in this respect? I still need to persuade and I will give advice. With his attainments in Kendo, if he can comprehend the laws of space to the realm of great perfection, and become an invincible high-ranking god, and then break through and become the strongest, I am afraid that it will directly be the existence of the realm, the existence of world respect. At this moment, King Han couldn't help but his eyes became hot, because even if he looked beyond the horizon, even the 10,000 realms, there were only a few dozen people in the known realm of the realm. Even if there are some strong people in the hidden world, it is absolutely impossible to add up to more than 50 people. You must know that there are no more than 50 people, including places outside the realm and even the 10,000 realms. Those who are strong in the realm of the realm are placed outside the realm, and even in the 10,000 realms are all powerful and can easily kill the most powerful in a single thought. Regardless of his and Hu Bugi's strengths, if they encounter a realm-level powerhouse, they can easily kill both of them with one enemy, even if they are killed by a realm-level powerhouse. Staring at it, there is no chance of even running away. Realm strong, too strong. That's also. Hearing the words of Han Yuqing, King of Cold, Hu Bugue, the leader of Yantian army, nodded suddenly. Such a genius must have his own ideas. Moreover, I think, he will definitely choose the path of becoming an invincible high-ranking god. After all, he is too young. At this time, Hu Bugue also figured it out. He was thinking about the other party from his own point of view just now, putting himself in the position, if he is the other party, with such enchanting talent and understanding, even if he has the opportunity to become the strongest, he will definitely not will rashly accomplish. Once promoted to the strong with the strength of the invincible high-ranking god, that is the realm of the realm. They are both the strongest and the realm-respected powerhouses. They are the existence that the strongest people need to look up to. Even if he can easily kill 2 or 3 of the lowest level of the strongest team, He needs to look up and dare not provoke him in the face of the realm-level powerhouse. They fought against each other with more than 100 moves, and neither side was left behind. Looking at Fian's posture, I think it won't take long to use her blood. Suddenly, Han Yuqing's eyes flashed abruptly as he watched the confrontation between the two in the court, and then said his own judgment. But Hu Bugui took a look at the scene, then nodded and sighed lightly. Although Fian is older than the opponent, it is far inferior to the opponent in terms of calmness and calmness. She, after all, can't hold her breath. Speaking of later, Hu Bugui lightly shook his head. Actually, this is normal. Han Yuqing smiled and said, in fact, in terms of the methods they currently show, Fian is actually better. However, the opponent's combat experience is obviously better than Fian. It's really hard to imagine how a young man who is less than 10,000 years old can accumulate such an amazing combat experience. Duan Lingshan's combat experience in the confrontation with Hu Fian surprised him. This is definitely not inferior to any existence under the strongest he has ever seen. Yeah, normally, even if Fian can't beat him, he can still suppress him a little. But now, there is no difference between the winner and the loser. Fei Yin is anxious now, obviously because of this. However, once Fian uses the power of blood, the opponent will probably use the power of blood, or the law clone. Hu Bugui said, I don't know whether this little guy's bloodline power or law clone can match, or even surpass, Fian's bloodline power. As Hu Bugi's voice fell, Hu Fian in the field suddenly burst into blood, and his long hair broke free from the shackles and rose with the wind. After that, a hair that was originally black and long and straight was twisted into a big wave in an instant, and it seemed to be dyed red, gorgeous, and dazzling. At this moment, Hu Fian's blood was shocking, and his delicate and beautiful face also became a lot colder at this moment, as if he was transformed. End of this chapter. Chapter 44-58. Hu Fian's transformation is definitely not just a change in appearance and temperament. The turbulent power in her body seems to be perfectly integrated with the power of blood, and it has been greatly strengthened. At this moment, Duan Lingtian even had an illusion. This Hu Fian no longer looked like a human being, but more like a terrifying bloodthirsty great monster, with killing intent in his eyes, and a terrible cold and bloodthirsty meaning from all over his body. Boom! At this moment, the strongest artifact in Hu Fian's hand flicked, and a more powerful space storm began to unfold in this solid space, and the space cracks were torn apart even more, swaying turbulently in the void, hideous and terrifying. What a powerful bloodline! In the past, Duan Lingtian hadn't seen anyone use the power of blood. Even in Wuyang City, he also felt the power of the blood of Wuyang City's 5 strongest people. However, because they couldn't see their shots clearly, there was only a faintly terrifying aura of feeling the power of the opponent's bloodline, and there was not much specific feeling. But now, the power of Hu Fian's bloodline gave him a feeling that was more terrifying than that of the elder Wang family Taishang and Lan Xiaoqing. What does this mean? It means that the blood of Hu Fian is stronger than that of the Wang family. You know, although there is no Xian in the Wang family, the Xian was born anyway, and the family of the Xian was often born. After the Xian, the blood of the descendants will become stronger. Perhaps it's because Wang Jingrao, the supreme elder, is not a direct descendant of the strongest person, so the power of blood has not been strengthened? At this moment, Duan Lingtian could only guess like this. Of course, he is not allowed to think too much. Now he, facing the menacing Hu Fian, hurriedly called out his own space law clone. Call. In an instant, another Duan Lingtian appeared in the field, but the eyes of this Duan Lingtian did not contain any luster, which seemed a little dull, and there was no anger. But, even so, he shot. The strength is not much worse than the deity. For a period of time, Ling Tian's deity and law clone shot together, and they were actually tied with Hu Fian, and it was difficult to distinguish between up and down. And this also made Duan Lingtian feel surprised and pleasantly surprised. The improvement of his space law during this time has also made the space law clone's strength stronger, beyond his expectation, as if it had undergone a major transformation. Of course, he also felt that this time the promotion of the space law clone was not only dependent on the space law, but was also related to the final consolidation of the divine power of his upper gods. This battle lasted for hundreds of moves, and finally, as the Yintian army commander Hu Bugue spoke, Duan Lingtian and Hu Fian just gave up. And Hu Fian, looking at Duan Lingtian again at this time, was also full of jealousy. Through this battle, she also personally felt the horror of this young man who is less than 10,000 years old. She, so far, is the first time she has encountered such a talented evildoer. For a moment, the original pride in my heart disappeared. Original? In this world, there is indeed a more enchanting existence than her. I heard that it was completely different from what I saw with my own eyes. Even if her adoptive father told him that there are many geniuses in the outside world, she also heard about the existence of some of those geniuses from other channels, but she didn't feel much. I feel that most of the rumors are processed and modified, and they are not entirely true. Just like herself, even in the surrounding area of Lien Lonely Realm, she heard it more than once, saying that Hu Fian was less than 10,000 years old, so she had the strength close to the invincible high-ranking god. At that time, she was not only past long-lived, but also not even close to the strength of the invincible high-ranking god. Therefore, she felt that those rumors, like this one, were probably fake. I'm not as good as him. Although it seemed that the battle with Duan Lingtian had become a tie, Hu Fian's heart was still full of loss. In her opinion, although she was comparable to the opponent in strength, she was much older than the opponent. If she waits until the opponent is her own age, she will most likely not be the opponent. The strength of the Deputy Army Master is surprising. I have also fought against other beings close to the invincible high-ranking gods in the past, but the opponent is not as good as the Deputy Army Master. Seeing the loss in Hu Fian's eyes, Duan Lingtian spoke and complimented the other party. At the same time, he secretly slandered in his heart. It seemed that this female deputy commander of Yintian army was also a very good and strong person. Haha. At this time, Han Yuqing, the cold king, laughed. Little friendly foe, your strength is obviously stronger than what you saw in the past, which is really surprising. I thought that even if you could get a tie with the current Fian, at best you would barely deal with it, but I didn't expect it to be so easy. As Han Yuqing's voice fell, Hu Bugue also glanced at Duan Lingtian with admiration, then looked at Hu Fian and sighed softly, "Girl, now you know the gap between you and the real genius, right?" Hu Fian returned to his senses, smiled bitterly, and his eyes became a little lonely. She has always regarded herself as the pride of her foster father, and she has always felt that she has done it. But today's battle made her realize that if she wants to be the pride of her foster father, what she has done now is far from enough. She needs to work harder. All of a sudden, the eyes of the youngest deputy commander of the Yintian army also became firmer and sharper than ever before. However, this firmness and sharpness did not last for long, and it turned into stunned and shocked, even unbelievable and incredible. And these changes are completely derived from the next words of Hu Bugue, the leader of Yintian army. This time the Han King will go to Pingxiong realm with little friendly foe, so you can walk with them. If you plan to go to the 3 holy realms, you can also go with them. If they don't plan to go to the 3 holy realms, you can go to the 3 holy realms to experience on your own. In a word, Hu Fian was shocked, and when he looked at his foster father Hu Bugue again, he seemed to be looking at a stranger. This, or her adoptive father who seems to be full of opinions about the 3 holy realms. At this moment, she even wondered if her adoptive father was taken away. Is this still her foster father? Foster father, you? When Hu Fian looked at her foster father Hu Bugue again, her eyes were completely wrong. And Hu Bugue naturally guessed what the righteous woman was thinking and said lightly, "In the past, I didn't mention the 3 holy realms, but I didn't want you to set foot there too early. But now, with your strength, even if you enter the 3 holy realms, the environment has enough self-protection. In addition, on your trip, your father will give you 3 drops of spiritual essence and blood. The quantity is limited, and it is best to use it at the most critical moment." In the latter sentence, Hu Bugue said to Hu Fian through voice transmission. Neither Duan Lingtian nor Han Wang heard this. Otherwise, King Han would be okay. Duan Lingtian would definitely lament the masterpiece of Hu Bugui, the commander of the Yintian army. Brother Yuqing Xian. Hu Bugui looked at King Han again, smiled and said, "On the way to Pingxiong Realm, you can introduce the 3 holy realms to this girl. I won't be too nonsense." Good. King Han responded, then looked at Hu Fian again, smiled and said, "I was planning to take little friendly Feng to see your foster father, and then leave Guilin City. If you have anything to prepare, we can wait for you." Senior King Han, I have nothing to prepare. In the depths of Hu Fian's eyes, with deep desire and expectation, she made no secret of her yearning for the 3 holy realms. That's all. Duan Lingtian left Liangu realm and headed to the 3 holy realms. In addition to Tan Xiaoding, who was already with him, there were 2 more people who accompanied him. Han Wanghan Yuqing, Hu Fian, deputy chief of Yintian army. In the face of these 2 big figures, Tan Xiaoding also didn't dare to take a breath. They were all existences he couldn't afford. At this time, he was also a little sad. He Tan Xiaoding, at any rate, is also the famous Blue Flame Sword King in the Sky Sand realm, but now he seems to be a follower of these 3, running errands. Chapter 4459. Duan Lingtian and his party of 4 got on Hu Fian's magical spacecraft, left Liangu realm, and headed to Pingxiong realm. Because Hu Fian is the deputy commander of Yintian army, her divine weapon spacecraft is no stranger to the land bordering Liangu and Hexiong. No one stepped forward to provoke it, and it was extremely peaceful. And it was precisely for this reason that he chose to sit on Hu Fian's artifact spacecraft at the beginning. On the divine weapon spacecraft, although Hu Fian didn't talk much, she couldn't help but ask Duan Lingtian a few words from time to time. The words revealed her curiosity about Duan Lingtian. And when he knew that Duan Lingtian was from the 10,000 realms, he was also a little surprised. At the same time, like Tan Xiaoding, he thought Duan Lingtian was from the upper 3 realms. Duan Lingtian did not deny this, nor did he reveal his true origins. He even informed Tan Xiaoding in advance that without his permission, his real name could not be revealed. This way he was accompanied by Hu Fian and Han Wang, and he was called Li Feng instead of Duan Lingtian. Tan Xiaoding is now limited by the Sky Blood Oath, so naturally it is impossible to disobey Duan Lingtian. However, he was puzzled in his heart, wondering why his young master didn't show his true identity. It is impossible for Tan Xiaoding to dream that the reason why his young master is so cautious is entirely because he comes from the gods against the gods, and he has obtained a lot of gods and fountains in the gods against the gods. Shen Yunquan, that is a treasure that can make the most powerful fight for it. If people know that it is in Duan Lingshan's hands, Duan Lingtian will definitely be targeted. Although Tan Xiateng's strength was good, and he was well known in Tiansha, almost no one knew him when he was out of Tiansha. With Tan Xiateng's status in a place outside the realm, he can't reach the top people, so it is naturally impossible to hear about the news about Duan Lingtian, a talented cultivator against the gods who has obtained a large number of gods. Because of this, Duan Lingtian didn't hide his true identity before Tan Xiaoding. Because, in his opinion, even if Tan Xiaoding is by his side, he may not be able to reach the level of existence of the Xian, but he did not expect that he would be in contact with the Xian so quickly. The Cold King. Inside the divine weapon spacecraft, Duan Lingshan's gaze swept over Han Yuqing, the Cold King who was sitting not far away, closing his eyes and meditating, and his heart was full of jealousy. Although he has been in the Tiansha realm and Liangu realm for a while, but he may still have heard the news about my being with a spiritual fountain. If I reveal my identity, I will be very dangerous. Fortunately, Tan Xiaoding made the blood oath in the sky. Before Tan Xiateng's sky blood oath expires, I am still safe for the time being. However, I still have to change my dress occasionally. Otherwise, wearing a purple dress from beginning to end is also an obvious feature. Duan Lingtian secretly said. In Duan Lingshan's expectation, if he wants to get in touch with the strongest, at least he has to wait for him to become the invincible high-ranking god, or become the strongest. And at that time, he didn't worry that there was a lot of news about the gods in his hands being exposed. After all, the plan cannot keep up with the changes. On the other hand, Tan Xiaoding, who received Duan Lingshan's warning, also faintly felt that something was wrong. Master, he won't let me reveal his real name. Is it possible that the strong or forces behind him, and the king of Han or the army of the Nyan heavenly army? Is there a contradiction in the Lord? He can only think like this. It is impossible to think of his young master carrying the treasure that the most powerful would want. After entering the Pingxiong realm for a period of time, Han Yuqing, the king of cold, opened his eyes and saw that Duan Lingtian hadn't practiced, so he took the initiative to chat with Duan Lingtian and chatted. During this process, Han Yuqing asked Duan Lingtian about his experience after leaving Wuyang City, and Duan Lingtian also informed Han Yuqing of a series of things about his later going to Wang's house in Langxiaking. Of course, he concealed many things. For example, he went to Wang's house in Langxiaking to marry Wang Luoyu in order to fulfill his promise. On Han Yuqing's side, he also said that he was in love with Wang Luoyu, and that was what happened later. Sure enough, it's the hero who saddens the beauty pass. I really envy you, little friendly Feng, and you have such passion and blood. Han Yuqing sighed. It's also. Little friendly Feng is not long-lived now, and I, who was less than long-lived before, are not full of passion and passion? When the voice fell, Han Yuqing's eyes were a little bit nostalgic, as if he was thinking of his absurd years. He, once ridden with beauty, owed a lot of romantic debts, until later, as the years passed. The former beauty turned into dead bones, and he suffered so much parting that he didn't go to the flowers and the grass anymore. However, for the heaven-changing sword in the sand realm that day, this time I got your guidance from little friendly Feng. In the next period of time, I am afraid that the sword will be advancing by leaps and bounds. Perhaps it won't take long for me to dare not pretend to defeat him. Although Han Yuqing didn't know or meet the person of Qingxianjian Situ Lei, he had heard of it. After all, when he was in the Tiansha realm, he also had an intersection with some of the strongest. Among them, the chiming demon venerable of the Qiming Mountain existed in the Tiansha realm as famous as the heavenly sword Situ Lei. He heard that the demon venerable Qiming mentioned the Situ Lei of the Qingtian sword, and he also knew that the demon venerable Qiming had discussed with the Situ Lei of the Qingtian sword in the past, regardless of the outcome. It's a pity that I'm not good at Kendo, or else I can get some inspiration from your little friendly Feng. Speaking of later, in King Han's eyes, there was no lack of envy for the heavenly sword Situ Lei. At their level of strength, it is extremely difficult to go further. It's not that no one can provide him with the kind of help that the person in front of him has to the heavenly sword Situ Lei, but the people who can provide this kind of help to him are almost all powerhouses above the realm. No matter how bad it is also a strong person who is not weaker than him. It is not so easy to get these powerful people to provide him with these help. Even if the other party is willing, he still needs to pay a lot of price. Moreover, in the process, if the other party has any bad thoughts, he is very likely will be self-defeating. If there is an existence weaker than him and can provide this kind of help to him, he will be more relieved, and standing on the strong side, many things will take the initiative. Therefore, he admired Situ Lei from the bottom of his heart. Senior King Han praised. Duan Lingtian repeatedly said, "The control of the Cold King is not much weaker than the junior's sword." Speaking of this, as if thinking of something, Duan Lingtian glanced at the shadows who were sitting cross-legged with their backs to them not far away. The deputy commander of Yintian Army Hu Fian said, "Senior King Han, I played against Deputy Commander Hu before. I feel that the way she has exercised control gives me a somewhat familiar feeling. Now, recalling your shots in Wuyang City, Senior Han Wang, although I only saw Senior's initial shots, I can still find some similarities between your control method and Vice Army Master Hu's control method." Duan Lingtian said that afterwards, he looked at Han Yuqing again, and he was a little more confused. But Han Yuqing couldn't help but smile. Li Feng's friendly eyesight. Fian's control method, the prototype of Fian's control, was her own understanding. Later, I officially mastered the control method, and I was the one who led me to get started. I see. Duan Lingtian suddenly realized that if this is the case, everything can be explained. Han Yuqing is the half-teacher who Hu Fian controls. After the topic was over, Han Yuqing spoke again and talked to Duan Lingtian about the descendants of his old friend who was also the strongest. A genius who is less than long-lived and has understood the law of death to the realm of small perfection, and his strength is not much worse than that of Hu Fian before the breakthrough in the past. Although he is slightly inferior to Hu Fian, he is not as old as Hu Fian. He has always felt that if he is the same age as Hu Fian, he is definitely better than Hu Fian. Now that Fian has broken through, even if he defeats him again, he probably won't take it to heart. Only if you are the same age as him and have the genius to crush him can he completely put away his complacency. Han Yuqing was talking to Duan Lingtian here, and Tan Xiaodong, who also heard his words, couldn't help but a touch of pity appeared in his eyes. Pity for Han Yuqing's old friend and younger generation. That kid, it's going to be unlucky. At the beginning, Tan Xiaodong was still curious that the strongest being able to befriend Han Yuqing is definitely not an ordinary strongest. It must be a well-known existence in Pingxiong. He has heard of the top Xians in Pyeongxiang. And when he next learned who the strongest was from the King of Cold, he couldn't help being shocked. It turned out to be him. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.